Hello, it's Jay here with yet another attempt, not that you've seen any of the other attempts, of me to do a Garb August video talking about my plans for the event where we celebrate the trash, the garbage that we as well-rounded readers uh, indulge in. That is a part of our diet. That is important, I think. As you have to have the majestic height, you also have to kind of have the weird, bizarre lows in reading, and sometimes those weird, bizarre lows are can be kind of paradoxically kind of highs in themselves. Um, I This is an event that's been put on by Ollie at Criminali and various other disreputable booktubers, where it's a celebration of the trashy garbage. The books that you might be you might not be bragging about when someone asks you, oh, what are you reading right now? This might be the book that you'll omit from that list, or maybe you'll proudly declaim to throw down your credentials as not one of them highbrow readers or whatever. So you see if I can contain myself, because yeah, I have not been very happy with other efforts that I've made, even though a part of it is, I think, because I feel a little bit tentative about this whole idea of calling books trash or garbage, because I think when I think of a trash or a garbage book, it's not going to be like a boring bad book, something that I just don't get anything out of and that I just chuck away. It's like, for me, a really good trash or garbage book is something that actually is it's maybe not well constructed. It may be kind of haphazard. It may be completely, especially I think, completely out of date in its attitudes, in its to whether that's to gender or to race or political stuff that just is kind of wrong, but it's wrong in such an interesting way that it really engages me. And some of those books are, the author has obviously been trying for a certain effect, and they fail, but they fail in such an interesting way that it sort of tells me something about the genre that they're writing in. And I mean, for me, I think that is science fiction and fantasy is where I dwell. That is where I find a lot of my trashy books. Sometimes you find a trashy literary book, though that is I think I would actually argue is extremely rare, because literary books are trying to be so serious and elevated in a way that sometimes that they don't have that kind of let's just throw crap against the wall sense to it. But I'm sure there are good trashy literary books out there, though I guess literary has this kind of like serious and kind of there's a certain tenor to it that makes it harder for it to be a good trashy book. So yeah, I mean, for me, I really just love examining and investigating kind of science fiction and fantasy for the odd things that it kind of reveals about the author, about the time that the author was writing in, and that is kind of be kind of gender, race, politics, a lot of stuff like that, and that doesn't oftentimes make me a lot of friends for people who unabashedly love these books for what they are. I think maybe like the Barsoom novels of like exciting adventure stories on Mars, and I'm like, oh, but like look at all the interesting things this has to say about like the eugenics, or about like kind of the science. I think a lot of times people feel like just like I'm missing the point, or I'm reading stuff into these works that are just entertainment. But it's like, oh no, I want to take them. I feel like I love the entertainment. I think someone like Edgar Rice Burroughs is great at writing an entertaining story, but he's also great at weaving in all these kind of weird, gnarly things, which really add that much more to the book, that engage me, that keep me reading them. So I would consider I consider, like, yeah, the Barsoom novels. I would consider them both trash and tremendous trash as it was. So you know, I think I was kind of struggling with my Garbogust doing a Garbogust video like this, because I felt like I kept on sliding into, like, I was looking down on this stuff, where I'm like, I'm not looking down on it. I am like going, wow, isn't this great? Like, look at this stuff. Um, and so, and actually, there's a video that Ollie did just recently, which, yeah, I think it was probably just yesterday or something like that, called "Why Readers Owe It to Themselves to Read Trash," and I really appreciated that video, because it really emphasized the love for these works, and that, you know, is saying that, like, you know, this isn't saying that these were, you know, cynical cash grabs, and that they're worthless. It's like, no, that, like, you know, these are works that you can sense that, like, you know, authors were really kind of, some of these authors were really putting stuff themselves into it. You know, other times there's maybe more cynical stuff, but it's, in some ways, the very carelessness, the very kind of haphazard throwing together stuff can also preserve stuff that is really, really amazing. I'm doing more, but just like that love there. So, you know, yeah, for me, just like, you know, it's like just a boring book, which oftentimes when a literary novel tries and fails, it just is boring. It's just lifeless, and it sits on the page. There's something that is really vital about a trashy garbage book. It is vital. It's not a failure. There's something about it that actually succeeds in a way despite itself, maybe, or succeeds in a way that kind of more colorless, less bold, less swinging for the walls books in you know, that are side by side with it in this the spinner rack, just don't make it. So I've decided for this month that I am going to go back to somebody who I probably do. I've at least in the past, I've just kind of dismissed this is a trashy author that I read as a young teen, and is sort of, I'm slightly embarrassed to read, and that's not to put down people who still love this author right now, right up until this day, who, I've seen booktubers talking about, but is just someone that at least I have in the past, especially as I was going from a young teen to going to reading more what I thought were more mature works and stuff like that. I kind of set aside as this was a youthful folly, and that is the author Piers Anthony, who wrote mostly fantasy, but some science fiction. His most famous for his Xanth series, which has gone on for I think up into the 40s of the number of volumes of the work. As someone who I've sort of over the years, and has been kind of dismissed as being sexist, kind of very kind of titillation, very much kind of attitudes towards stuff like maybe sexual assault, which are very much of the time that he was writing. I think he was started in the I think it's the late 70s, and definitely in the 80s he was a big fantasy author of thing, and I knew a lot of people who read his work, both young guys like myself, and young women as well. And yeah, I thought, okay, that is somebody who, I dismiss his work. I think I was more dismissive of his work as kind of trashy works, and actually his name has come up in other people's Garbogust videos as someone who they're gonna try his works. I think they're gonna do the Bio of a Space Tyrant, which I remember that series. I read that series back in the day, and that was, even at the time, I was just like, oh, that's a little much. So yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that, guys. If you're gonna read that one, because just using kind of the fate, I found one of the novels in his Apprentice Adept series. This is the Blue Adept, which is number 2 in the series, which is it is kind of it is starts in the science fiction world and then alternates, I think, back and forth in fantasy world, where yeah, I'm gonna try rereading this series. I've got this one in paperback, and I found a couple of e-copies of the other two books in the first three books of the series, which it seems to be it's a series that actually I didn't realize had gone on after this. I think there's like 7 books in total, but the first 3 books are considered kind of a self-contained little trilogy in itself. And everything I've heard about the latter books is that they completely go downhill after that. So I will stick with, yeah, Piers Anthony in his kind of maybe the height of his whatever powers he had. This is, I think, what are so yeah, Split Infinity, which was published in 1980, Blue Adept, which was published in 1981, and Juxtaposition, which was published in 1982. This isn't some kind of George R.R. Martin who's carefully laboring over each novel, over years and then longer years and then longer years. This is Piers Anthony was and is, because he's still alive, a professional writer who he cranked those books out. He was making a living. And I'm going to go back and, experience Piers Anthony as he is now. This is a thing where if I do talk about these books, if I do review these books, I'll be taking them seriously, not as, that's fun. I'll be taking them seriously. I'll be kind of digging into what stuff I think that this reveals about the 1980s, about myself as a young teen in the 1980s, but also with my eyes now, and how I respond to the book now, and how that makes me feel now about the book, because that's the only perspective I can give on it. People will say someone writing of their time, and it's just supposed to be light entertainment, but it's like I really have the opinion, especially when it comes to like trashy books like this, that entertainment, light entertainment, and kind of just the inbuilt attitudes and how people are revealed more into light entertainment than they are when they're behaving themselves, when they're trying to be serious. It's like, no, actually the light entertainment is where you can really find out about what things were like and what things were like in the 1980s. And when I read these as a teen, it was a young teen guy. I probably just took a lot of this in as just like, I just accepted it. As given. And that's not how I read. That's not how I read now. I'm an old 50 plus dude, and I think about things, and I want to examine what I'm being told and what I'm being shown. So it should be interesting. Is the Apprentice Adept series trash? Is it garbage? I don't know. I know some people really love this series, and I know a lot of people have completely dismissed and have tossed Piers Anthony and his books into the trash. And I think it's a good idea to kind of go back and go, oh well, let's take a look at this stuff and see what are the positive things. Like, I read a lot of this guy's books. There was something about them that I enjoyed at the time, that was entertaining at the time, and it's good to just examine, like, what was that. So going into it with hopefully an open mind, I could find out that this is still an amazing series and everyone should read it, or I could find out other stuff and talk about that as well. So that's where I'm at for hopefully a positive, kind of the loving embrace of garbage, of trash books in Garb August. But as a reader who wants to be entertained, who wants to be engaged, wants to think about stuff, and most importantly wants to yak to you guys about it ad infinitum for a couple of videos. All right, I've been Jay. Happy Garb August. Ugh, maybe a little bit stinky. All right, more videos later.